Hello, and welcome to When They Popped. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Mary, and today we're thrilled to welcome Greg Raposo, who was part of one of the most beloved boy bands of the Y2K era, Dream Street. As a member of Dream Street alongside Jesse McCartney, Chris Truesdale, Matt Ballinger, and Frankie Galasso, Greg helped create the soundtrack to our childhoods with hits like It Happens Every Time and Sugar Rush. Since those Dream Street days, Greg has continued to evolve as an artist, recently releasing his newest single, Wasn't You, Wasn't Me, and just announcing 2 performances alongside BB Mac this summer with Matt. From navigating teen stardom to finding his authentic voice as a solo performer, Greg's journey through the music industry offers a fascinating window into the boy band phenomenon, and we're so excited to dive into his Dream Street memories, explore his musical evolution, and learn more about what he's creating now and what's next. Greg Raposo, welcome to When They Popped.
Thank you so much, guys. What a wonderful intro.
Oh, we're so happy
Mary
to have
always
you.
pops off on the intros, but it's easy to write an amazing intro about an amazing musician. So, Greg, we're all about Y2K nostalgia over here. And to warm you up, we want to ask you some quick icebreaker questions. So just share with us the first thing that comes to mind. Are you down?
Yeah, of course.
Who was your first celebrity crush?
Easy. Britney Spears. I didn't even have to think about that one.
He didn't even flinch, you guys. Amazing.
Taste.
Simple. I had the posters on my wall, and we actually got to open for her. That was our first arena show, and we met Justin backstage, and we met Britney when she went down the line, and this is literally the girl on my wall that day. And, I was trying to be cute. And she, when she got to me, she, each boy said their name, introduced themselves. And when she came to me, I was like, I don't remember.
Oh.
And she giggled. It was like, oh, you're cute. And, that's my Britney story. I mean, it was really like a handshake,
Okay.
a pass by. We took a picture together. So it wasn't like we were, hanging out at the club afterwards.
Shocking.
Still iconic.
We wouldn't have been allowed in anyway at that point.
I was going to say, weren't you guys babies?
I was probably 14 or 15. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cute. All right, your next one. What do you think was the most embarrassing Y2K trend? Was it the frosted tips, the cargo pants? What do you think?
So I'm going to be honest with you. Embarrassing is not really a word in my vocabulary. I don't know how much you've seen of me, but I'm not a very shy person. But if I look back, maybe Jinkos, even though I think they're coming back now, basically
back.
it's just, I think they're back, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I don't know if that just shows that I'm out of touch with what's trendy now, but looking back at Jinkos, I'm like, oof. That's a look right there.
You could hide 3 CD players in there, a board game. You could go camping.
Totally. Totally.
Just a pair of Jingles. I was at a concert. I live in Boston, so there's a lot of young people around me, and I'm always looking at what they're wearing to see, what do I need to do to be cool? And I was like, that's where I draw the line. I will not wear a Jingles. They're 10 pounds.
Ugh.
Yeah. Cargo pants, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Cargo pants are cool, but the swishy ones, I love the swish when you're walking down the street. All right, next one. Maybe you've already answered this one, but who's the coolest celebrity you met during your Dream Street days?
I'll tell you who I got the most starstruck over, and it's really random, but I met, I don't even know his name, but it's Ray from Tia and Tamara. The dad, the guy who plays the dad in Tia and Tamara. And that was just a show that I watched all the time. And so when I met him, and I met a lot of famous people, but for whatever reason, meeting Ray from Tia and Tamara, rocked my world.
You grew up with those shows. You feel like you know them. He's our dad.
Right, that's what it was like, and, like, to see him in person, when I'm so used to watching him. But, yeah, I mean, coolest, Enrique Iglesias was cool. I had a kind of funny story with him. Justin Timberlake was super cool when we met him. A lot of cool people, honestly.
Yeah.
Tell us your Enrique story. Now I'm
Enrique's
intrigued.
story was, have you ever seen the Enrique music video where the person is like eating a Dorito and like the person is standing there and they think that Enrique's singing to him, but it's the person standing behind them eating the Doritos? If you don't know the commercial, then the reference doesn't make sense, but it was very similar to that where we were in the crowd and he was like singing to like, I don't know who, but there were all these moments where it was like you kept looking over your shoulder to be like, is he singing to me right now? Like what's happening here? I just remember all of us like laughing at that and thinking it was really funny.
That is hilarious. And I'm sure we'd have the same reaction if Enrique got anywhere near us. We'd be like, hello?
Yeah, like me? Me?
All right. Strangest fan gift you've ever received. Have you gotten anything weird from an adoring fan?
So, I mean, I've gotten like underwear with like my face on it and stuff like that. It's kind of strange. Like a bobblehead, like a custom made bobblehead. Anything like with your own face on it is always a little weird. But I will say that like my favorite gift from a fan is actually I got a guitar pick necklace many, many years ago from a wonderful girl named Amanda. And I loved it so much that I've literally worn it for so many years. And through the year, I mean, I've definitely like lost a couple necklaces through the years, but because it's become like such a favorite item of mine, my wife has gone and made me like each time, like when we had our first kid, she made me a guitar pick necklace with my daughter's fingerprint on it. And then when I had two kids, there was another version. And then, I mean, I have 4 children now. So there's been like 4 different versions of this guitar pick necklace. So like this one has all 4 of my kids' initials. And it's actually originally a gift from a fan that has just like been a staple of mine.
That's incredible. We never hear stories with like that. We hear like O-Town getting a hamster from a fan or something like that, or like boxers with their face on it. Like you said, what an incredible story to have something like that from a fan.
Yeah, no live animals.
That's good, right? Okay.
Yes.
If you had to pick a favorite Dream Street song, picking your favorite, which would it be?
So it always depends on the moment. And that's kind of like with any song, right? Like what kind of mood you're in, what kind of vibe you got going on. I Say Yeah was probably always my favorite. Just because it had the heaviest guitars. And it felt like the closest thing to a rock song of all our Dream Street songs. But then I also loved my solo song, Jennifer Goodbye. Jennifer Goodbye. Don't wanna figure out why anymore. Just because I'm a ham and, I got one song to just be the like star in the spotlight and do my thing. So yeah, that's kind of like if I'm on stage, my favorite. But if I'm in my car, it's going to be I Say Yeah.
I'm trying not to be like a weirdo, but literally my next note in here is like, is it weird that my favorite Dream Street song is Jennifer Goodbye? Because I've never
No,
that is my
great.
favorite.
That's great. Actually, it's funny that song was written by one of the Dream Street producers. So it like wasn't written by a professional songwriter. It Happens Every Time was written by the same guy who wrote Baby Hit Me One More Time.
The Swedes.
The Swedes, exactly. It was cool that the producer like picked me to write a song that, meant a lot to him. And yeah, I think it's a great song.
I love that that's one of your favorites because I feel very seen by that. So if you had to pick a boy band song that you wish could have been a Dream Street song, from NSYNC, from Backstreet Boys, from 98 Degrees or whatever, if there's one, like, man, if we could have recorded vocals on that. Do you have one in mind?
Yeah, I mean, that comes to the top of my head. I always like felt like AJ from the Backstreet Boys was my like spirit boy band animal. And so, the song where it's like, where he's like, "Whoa, ha, 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 ha."
Yes.
Larger than
Is that
life.
that one?
Yes.
Larger than life.
Yes.
Larger than life. I love that song, and I always like want to be AJ and like
love
just
it.
do that fun laugh at the beginning of the song. Like that just pumps me up.
Oh my God. I love that. I could totally
Yeah.
hear it. That is so cool. So, Greg, before we go back to the beginning, we need to talk through some piping hot Dream Street news with you. We learned that you're supporting BB Mac in 2 shows in Connecticut and New York City this summer. This is so exciting.
Yep.
We love the BBs. We've had them on, been to their shows. They're so much fun. How did this iconic collaboration come to be, and what can fans expect?
I don't think Matt and I fully know what to expect. We're really just like having a great time. I do an annual charity birthday show, and I think because it was my 40th, Matt was like, dude, like, come on, it's your 40th. Like, let's do this. And he came, and his band was direct support on the show. And then we decided to do like a Dream Street set at the end of the show. I mean, literally, I had a glorious beard like a week ago, and I actually found like in my mom's storage the outfit that I wore in It Happens Every Time, like the orange pants and the silver shirt. And it was really big on me then, and now it's like snug, but it fits, right?
Okay.
And
Cool.
so, I had an outfit change before we closed our set with a Dream Street set, and I actually like Benjamin buttoned everybody and like shaved the beard right before coming on stage. And again, we're just like having so much fun. And we got, some decent attention just because we were posting about that. And I have a really good relationship with one of the guys who runs Pop 2K. So we actually were scheduled to go to Mexico over the summer for a Pop 2K show, but then the whole thing ended up like blowing up and getting canceled, and we were kind of bummed about it. But then I guess because we were like posting about my show coming up, it just like brought us back into people's minds. And, he hit me up. He's like, hey, man, we got some local BB Mac stuff. And to be honest, it's a lot because it's like down the road from us. It's just easy, fun thing to do. And I don't know like what's next or what's going to come of it, but we're having a great time. I mean, I love Matt. The two of us just like really connect. We've even been doing some like songwriting together, doing our own stuff. So I couldn't tell you like what's coming, but I can tell you it's going to be fun and that we're having a great time. And as long as, we're having fun and other people want us there, like we're happy to do it.
You were talking about your social media presence. You had a great post maybe a month or 2 ago of you, I think, performing It Happens Every Time at karaoke and people like not realizing that it was your song. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
That was awesome. Post.
Yeah. So it's funny. So I've been going to Nashville. I go out there a few times a year. I've been doing a lot of songwriting with some really awesome writers, and we do stuff for publishing. And, it was just like a night out at the bar, and I was with a friend, and she had dared me to sing Dream Street. And, we had a few drinks, so, no problem. And then, I kind of used it as an opportunity for content to promote my show. And I kind of do Instagram mostly. That's just kind of like my platform where I will like personally scroll. And it got like 12,000 views. And I was like, whoa, shit. All right, maybe I should post this on TikTok because it like did so well on Instagram. And then it got like 46,000 views on TikTok. And I was like, shit, I should probably post on TikTok more, even though I probably won't. But it was just, a totally random thing. And there were a few people there who kind of figured it out. And I mean, apparently that's also like Chris Kirkpatrick's local bar. And like he had been there just a couple nights prior. So it's too bad we didn't run into each other and do a little boy band duet or something.
What song would you have tried to sing with him if he was there?
And he could have chosen. I was
You're
I was a
flexible.
huge back in the day. I mean, we were all like NSYNC fans. like the NSYNC No Strings Attached album dropped, I think when we were like doing our thing. We even got to go to an NSYNC concert. It was the one where they had like bulls on stage. They were like riding bulls and like all kinds of like crazy, amazing fireworks. And it was really one of the best shows. So yeah, I mean, I could sing any NSYNC song, you name it. I don't even need the prompts.
Doesn't even need the lyrics.
We don't either.
That's
Well, now that the tea has been poured, let's go back to the beginning. We'd love to talk about, how you got into music, how it brought you to where you are today. We know that the Dream Street guys basically all grew up on Broadway. Can you tell us about your introduction to music as a kid?
Yeah, so basically, I always wanted to play guitar. I always had like little play toy guitars. Finally, my parents were like, all right, like this kid clearly wants to play music. So I actually started really young. I got my first guitar at 6 and I started taking lessons. And I was my guitar teacher's first student, but her like other gig was doing kids' birthday parties. And so obviously I'm learning like all these kids tunes, like This Land Is Your, she was like super folky. So I learned all these like folk songs, like This Land Is Your Land and
Puff the
Kumbaya,
Magic
whatever.
Dragon.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And because I kind of just like took to it, she ended up starting to bring me to her kids' parties. And we were called Bright Eyes, like a 2-man band. And for me, like, I was basically just crashing other kids' birthday parties and like leaving with goodie bags and being stoked about that. But that's kind of how I just started like performing. And then my dad was a big Elvis fan. So I started learning some Elvis songs just like to play for him. And then my aunt was a seamstress. So she made me like this Elvis suit for me to use when I did my Elvis things at these kids' parties. And then my other aunt recorded it. She sent it in to Star Search. Star Search called. I ended up winning second place at Star Search. And then from there, I got an agent. So by the time I was like 9, I had been going on auditions, like professional stuff, and started doing commercials and acting. And then I think where it kind of blew up was I kind of started to become known as like this Elvis kid. And I got a call from Priscilla Presley, and she invited me to Graceland where I performed with a full band. And what was kind of cool about that is it was my first time ever performing with a live band, like a real drummer and guitar players and backup singers. And that was actually Elvis's original band.
What?
Yeah. So that was like my start into it all.
How do you top that? Well, yeah, you go on to become a Dream Street member, but like,
Right.
holy
So, and then it all
crap.
just kind of snowballs from there, and you just like one thing leads to the next. And, I was started writing my own music when I was, when I could start writing like at 8 or 9. So for me, to be honest, I always really wanted to be this like singer songwriter, rock star, play my own music. So I was never really dreaming about being in a boy band. Not to mention, like, I had 2 left feet. So, like, dancing was never, honestly, any of our things other than Chris. He was really the only trained dancer of the group. But, like, it clearly became a part of my DNA because even today in all my songwriting, like, I just bleed pop music. And, like, the way I naturally sing just comes out like it's meant to be in a boy band. So I do believe, I ended up where I was supposed to be, but writing music and, performing my own music was really always my dream.
I mean, what an incredible start. So let's talk about the beginning of Dream Street. So we listened to your interview on Frosted Tips with Lance Bass, and we learned that it was originally a show called Boy Wonder, destined for Broadway. Can you tell our listeners about that journey from Boy Wonder to Dream Street? And you are one of the original members.
Yeah, Chris and I were in Boy Wonder and we rehearsed all summer long. I think at this point I was like maybe 12 or 13. And then they were pitching it as a Broadway show. And we did a big showcase at the end of the summer. And I guess they just got a lot of feedback that they thought Chris and I were the ones that kind of stood out. But then they decided to recast the group. So we did a new audition process. At this point, Chris and I had already been doing this for a whole summer. But because they wanted to create the content and record everything for the audition process, they had us pretend like we were auditioning again, even though we were like on the inside. So that was kind of fun, pretending and acting. And then they brought it down to 8 kids. They had 8 of us, rehearse for a month or so, and then knocked it down to 5, which are the 5 that you know. And yeah, originally, so Broadway is known as the Street of Dreams, and that's where the name Dream Street comes from. And it was always pitched to us that it was going to be this Broadway show about boy bands. And when we all auditioned and we got the phone calls from our agents about auditioning, it's like, oh, it's a Broadway show. It's a pilot. And so that's like, there was always even like a little set that they had like in the rehearsal studio. And they would always have these different investors coming in and we'd be doing shows for random people. So it was supposed to be like this was when reality TV became a big thing. Like Jersey Shore was the hit show on TV. So the concept here was reality Broadway, where you go, you see a show, it's scripted, it's the same story every night. Throughout the story, we're trying to get a song on the radio. We get our song on the radio at the end of the show, and then you'd be driving home in your car and you turn the radio on and the song is playing. So that's kind of like the reality aspect. So they were working both angles at the same time and getting the song on the radio, which happened faster than the Broadway show. It was Radio Disney at the time, and it just kind of blew us up. To a point that the whole like Broadway show concept just like couldn't keep up with the popularity that we were creating. And then we were just a boy band all of a sudden, and doing mall tours and doing the boy band thing. And, it was just like really a wild ride.
I mean, you were so young when this was all happening. What was your like initial reaction to suddenly being thrust into the spotlight at such a young age in the middle of boy band mania? I mean, this was like the time to be in a boy band.
Yeah, so all of us were like working kids, so like I had already been doing some off-Broadway stuff. I was already, leaving school early and doing auditions and, 3 shows a week. I mean, Jesse was a principal on All My Children. Frankie had already starred in a movie. Matt was in The Sound of Music. Like we were all like working kids. So this was kind of like another job. And I don't think any of us really thought of it as like, this is going to be anything as special as it was. I think for me, the first moment where it kind of hit me like, wow, this is different than all the other jobs that we've had. And it's funny because it was totally staged, but it was our very first music video type thing that they were creating. And they had all of our like friends and cousins and just as many girls as possible and basically paid everybody with pizza. So they were not fans by any means, but they told everybody when these boys walk out on stage, like, I need you guys to scream and pretend like it's the Beatles or, whoever. And we walk out on stage. And even though it wasn't real, it was my first experience of like screaming pandemonium. Broadway, everyone's just clapping. And if you're really lucky, you get a standing ovation. You don't have people like screaming. And so like, that was the first time, like, just like the hair stood up on my arms. And I was like, whoa, this is wild. And especially being a kid who's just always loved attention, that just like taking a hit of a drug for the first time. I was just like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And then that's kind of when things really changed and we all really like wanted it to work and happen. And then it started to. So it was really, really exciting.
So the first time the hair stood up on your arms was like cousins and everyone being like bribed with pizza to go crazy for you. Something we always ask our guests is, when did you feel like you popped? Obviously, that's the theme of our podcast. Do you have that holy shit moment for you when it was not cousins being bribed by pizza, but actual fans screaming for you guys, where you had your moment where like, oh my God, like, I think we made it?
I do think that our like overnight success, like the tipping point was when we were on the Maury show. So going into the Maury show, those are basically our cousins in the crowd and maybe like a very small handful of girls who we didn't know, but like, again, nothing crazy. But I guess, that having been like a national TV show, every show we did post Maury was like sold out. And then that's when we would like arrive at a show and there was like a line of girls waiting outside. So I would say like the Maury show was when we popped.
Love that. Now, with this being the boy band era, did you guys feel like you tried to like carve your own identity a little bit, like differentiate yourself from other boy bands? Like, did you have the ability to do that? Like, did you guys have much like creative control to differentiate yourself? Like, what was the deal?
We didn't have to try because at that time we were the only boys in a boy band.
So true.
Men
You know,
bands.
yeah. I mean, like, you go to our shows and all the fans there are our age, like we were all the same age. And the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, like they were men. Like, when you're 14, I mean, they were probably in their 20s. So, like, relatively now you look back and you're like, oh, a 20-year-old kid is like a baby. But at 14, a 20-year-old is like
A man.
ancient, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like we stood out, I believe, just because we were like the same age as our fans. We didn't really have to like try to be different because we just naturally were.
An actual boy band.
Yeah, I mean, we were like the only real boy band at that time.
And I know you said you were huge fans of NSYNC. Like, did you guys have other musical influences during this era that inspired you?
We did. So like we listened a lot to Craig David. He was definitely playing a lot in our tour bus. But I should also say that we, weren't picking the songs, the Dream Street songs that we recorded. To be honest, we were really no different than being hired as an employee for a company, and you kind of go where you're told. But they didn't tell us like who to be, right? So each one of us did get to just like lean into who we are. So like Matt, he was kind of the sports guy. So like he always wore jerseys. And, Chris was very flashy and he had his hair that way and he dressed that way and the sunglasses, and then I was just like the guy who loved attention and like, hey, if I sneak a shoulder out, it makes someone scream. So like, I'm just going to wear tank tops all the time. It was never like the producers or anyone being like, Greg, you should show your arms, like that was truly like me. So like, yeah, we were ourselves as like characters, if you would say. But in terms of like creativity or being inspired towards like the Dream Street music or sound, like we weren't really involved in picking any of the songs. I mean, we didn't pick our parts. It was actually really smart the way they would do it. At the time, it was CDs, so they would burn your parts onto a CD and you take it home and learn it. You wouldn't even know that what you were learning is a harmony. You just like learned that part as if it were the lead to the song. And then we'd all come in the following week and they would just be like, all right, sing what you've learned. And we would all do it together. And then magically, we were just like all in perfect harmony. So that was really cool. And yeah, I mean, I loved singing like in a group. And, there's definitely something super magical about just like harmonies and like, even just like singing a cappella, like we would just be singing a cappella in the tour bus all the time, or even like warming up and singing in like the bathroom with the acoustics. It was really an amazing time. It's almost a shame that, at that time, because we were so young, for me, it was always like, oh, this is just a stepping stone to the next big thing, because everything we did was big things. It didn't feel that surreal. It just felt like this is cake. This is just my life. This is totally normal. So it wasn't until like we had hindsight that we realized like, wow, no, that was not normal. That was like super special and super cool. And, just really grateful that I got to have that opportunity and live that life.
So incredible. Speaking about, some of the music and, I would say probably the song you guys are most known for, It Happens Every Time.
Happens every time when I see you. It happens every time when I think of you.
When you went to record your CD, learn your CD part for this song, any idea it would hit like it did?
No, not really. I mean, we knew that it was probably going to be a single because like it had Dream Street in it. And because it was like written by the Swedes. But in terms of its like popularity or what it would do on Radio Disney, you'd never know. But we were also so young that like we weren't even thinking about any of that stuff. Like we were just having a good time. Like it was almost no different than a typical kid who's on a sports team and is like playing different teams and is hanging out with their friends. Like we were never involved in anything that had to do with like business, or contracts. And that's why even like the breakup of Dream Street, like I couldn't even fully tell you what happened because it really had nothing to do with it. It was the parents and the producers, and we weren't like reading anything or sitting at any type of tables to talk about stuff. We were like playing Game Boys in the back room while they were doing that stuff. So it was really kind of just like fun and games for us.
Speaking of the dissolution of Dream Street, so like 2000 to 2002, you guys are on this like meteoric rise. And then all of a sudden it kind of like comes to this screeching halt. You mentioned that you guys were kind of too young to really understand what was going on. So was it like just one day everything stopped? Like how did that go down?
Yeah, there definitely was like this, like, didn't believe it sort of thing. Like, is it really over? But then on the other side, especially because I mentioned earlier, like everything felt so easy, like everything happened so naturally. So it didn't feel like we stumbled upon gold. It felt like this is just going to be what my life is like. This is how my life has been. Like every year, there's been crazy stuff that's happened to me. And so for me, to be honest with you, like, when the group was breaking up, like I had already started writing songs. Like I wrote this one song that I was like pitching to the producers to be like, yeah, can we do this song on our next album? And they were like, no. And I was like, that kind of sucks, but all right. And, while I was writing this music, I went to like a local recording studio and, it was like more guitar driven and kind of like pop rock stuff. And one of the interns at the studio said to me, hey man, like when you play this stuff live, like how are you planning on doing it? Because this kind of sounds more like a band rather than like pop track music like you do now. And like, it's funny because it didn't even cross my mind. Like I was like, play it live? Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I never even like thought of that. And he was like, well, like me and my buddies, like we all play instruments and stuff. Like maybe one day you want to like get together and we can like jam on some of these songs. Like these songs are great, man. Like let's get together and play them, And I was like, all right, yeah, cool. That sounds cool. And like these guys were like a couple years older than me. So there's always that like, whoa, they're so cool. They're like,
Oh, yeah.
they're 16 and I'm 14. Like, that kind of a thing.
That was a big gap back then.
Right, exactly. I mean, just for reference, one of those guys is now the godfather for one of my kids, right?
Oh.
But like these dudes came over, these like real musicians, and we started playing the songs that I wrote. And for me, like that was like a moment where I was like, oh my God, this is what I meant to do. And in terms of Dream Street, it was like, I never really felt like this is what I was meant to do. And there was a part of me that was like, you know what? This is perfect because at the time, NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, who were kings of the world, were both breaking up like at the same time. And we were literally on our way up. It was almost as if the boy band gods were parting the waves and we were like about to like just be like the
Yes.
next hope of boy bands, right?
The white smoke and the conclave has
It
chosen.
really was. That's like what it was. It really was. It felt like that. And then everything came crashing down. But we still had like great fan base and we still had great contacts. And now all of a sudden I'm writing my music and I'm playing with a band and I'm like having this real sense of like my identity. I was like, this is perfect because we didn't make it so big that I'm going to be typecast as the guy from the boy band for the rest of my life necessarily. But we also like just made it big enough that I've got fans and I can sell out some venues and I have contacts and stuff. So I honestly felt like it was the perfect storm for me and I was totally stoked about it. And that like helped me not like feel really like upset about it breaking up. Like in many ways, I was very excited about it because I was excited about what was next. And honestly, one of our first concerts or my first concert with that band of interns was at Nassau Coliseum. And it was WBLI, which is like a Long Island radio station. And they had like a jingle jam sort of thing. And it was all these like big acts. Like I think Natasha Bedingfield went on right before me. And actually Frankie, Jesse, and Matt did like a trio. And they were also on the bill as a trio. And I was on the bill as myself with my band. And, you know, it was the first time hearing like a song that I wrote on a napkin coming out of like the speakers of an arena that I had been seeing shows at my whole life. That was super magical. I mean, that's like one of the highlights of my life, right? And so, yeah, I guess I didn't really ever have a moment of being like really sad about it. It was just like always exciting and it was always what's next. And like many kids, I just always felt kind of like invincible. Now I look back and I'm like, oh man, that was it, you know?
No,
The best is yet to come.
Come
You
on.
know, I mean, look, I love my life, to be honest. I mean, I have like the best kids and the best wife. I'm like just super grateful the way everything has turned out. I love that I'm able to still pursue my passion and I'm able to still write music and I'm still able to do shows, but I also don't have to tour for 3 months and be away from my kids. Like, I think that would probably like eat me up. So I really do believe things kind of happen the way they're meant to. And things seem to like be happening right now the way that they're meant to. I'm just like super blessed and thankful and really living my best life.
Well, Greg, you mentioned having the best kids and the best wife, and the way you met your wife or connected with your wife is literally every teenage girl's dream, in my opinion. Can you share that story with our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. I love telling this story and she hates it. I'm going to tell you the story, but I'm going to just give you the disclaimers that she like makes sure I mention, right?
Okay.
So, number one is she was not there to see Dream Street, right? She was there
Okay.
because there was like some like other type of event going on that she was there for. It just happened to be in the mall. And there was all this loud noise and pandemonium. So they were like, what's going on? Like, let's go check it out. Oh, look at these cute boys on stage. So they just happened to be in the audience for that reason. So I'm doing Jennifer Goodbye. And my thing was always to pull a girl up on stage and serenade her. And like, you know, I had my line, like, whoever screams the loudest, I'm going to pull you up on stage. And so, you know, I hit him with my line and she's out there in the crowd. She actually doesn't know that we go to high school together, but I did because I was a sophomore, she was a freshman, and I had already scoped out like all the cute like freshmen that just came to the school, right? So I knew who she was. She did not, but she had like her family around her and her cousins and her sisters, and they're all like trying to forcefully put her hand up, and she is just like doing her best to keep her hands down because she does not want to be chosen. So obviously, what am I going to do? Right. I had to pull this girl up on stage because this is like, you know, too easy. So I do. I pull her up on stage and I do my thing. You know, she hates it when I say this part, but she did say like, you know, I did see like something magical in your eyes, you know, like when you were singing. You know, and that was it. And that was the moment. And then like Monday came around. Let's say that was a Friday, right? And I'm just like walking down the hallway and we just like walk into each other in the hallways. And she's like, wait, what are you doing here? What's happening? You know? And like almost as if like you found me. Like what happened? Like, and I'm like, no, I go to school here. She's like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. And then we just like, you know, became really good friends. And like all throughout high school, we were like great friends. And she was like way too smart to have ever like dated me in high school. And it's definitely for the best because I totally would have like effed that up if we did. And it took me like years to make her my girlfriend. She was just really smart about it. Like she was never, and still to this day, just like never the jealous type. And I was if anything, like the hopeless romantic who just wanted her to be my girlfriend. And she was like, listen, you are in a touring rock band, like touring all over the place. Like, I don't want to be your girlfriend. Like, there's no, and like she was away at college, you know? So she's like, listen, like, do whatever you want to do and vice versa. And like, it's all good, you know? And like, that drove me crazy because I was like, what do you mean? You don't want to, like, I don't want to do anything other than be with you. And that went on for like 4 years until finally she gave in. And so, like, yeah, like we've been together since I was 20 and she was 19. So, like,
Wow.
at this point, like, I've been with her for like half my life. So it's kind of crazy when you think of it that way.
What's so sweet.
When I heard that story, the hair on my arm stood up. Like, that is what, like, we all wish would happen to us, I think, back then. Can you tell us a little bit about your new solo single? We'd love to hear what inspired Wasn't You, Wasn't Me. Tell us about this song.
Tell the new guy that you don't lie to. Wasn't you, wasn't me.
Yeah, so, you know, I've been writing music forever, right? But, well, I'll give you the long story since we have time. My wife loves country music. That's always been her thing. I was always kind of more the pop rock guy. When we were in our 20s, I used to tell her, you know, when we're old in our 30s, I'm going to write and record a country album for you because I know how much you love country. And so we got old in our 30s. And I got hit up by just like randomly by some guy online who was like, hey man, like I'm interested in doing like country pop rock songwriting. Like, do you want to like meet up and like try to write? And he kind of just like said all the right things. And I was like, sure, why not? And so like we met up in the city and another kind of joke is like I never got to experience online dating because we had been together for so long and that wasn't a thing 20 years ago. We always say like that was my first like real online date with this other musician. And we became like really tight. Like at this point, we're best friends and we write every week consistently. And this has been going on for like 7 years now, I think. And, you know, to be honest, we're writing with the intention of like it being music for other artists, being music for publishing or licensing or anything like that. You know, so when we're coming up with song concepts, it's very different than writing for yourself as an artist, right? So it's not like it has to necessarily be like an experience that I've had or like something that I'm feeling. It's more so like, oh, that's a good song idea. Let's write that and put it out there. So that's really what we've been doing. And we partnered with this awesome music group out of Nashville. And we will write 20 songs and then we'll go and record like our top 6. And we do that almost like twice a year. And then those songs get pushed out and they get pitched, and then you never know what happens to them. But after a while, if nothing happens to them, like there's still like good songs that like I really love and that I'm proud of. And so it feels like such a waste to me to have like this like well produced recorded music just sitting in my Google Drive. And I just love like to share my stuff, right? So to be honest, like all of this music that I'm like releasing, it's not really like I'm trying to like make a comeback as an artist. All the stuff I'm releasing, I recorded in 2023. And the stuff that I released in 2024, I recorded in like 2022. And I have so much material that like, I was talking about like putting a new song out like once a month. And I could probably do that for like the next few years.
Oh, do it.
Yeah,
We'll
and
take it.
like, cause why not, right? Like, cause why not? And as for Wasn't You, Wasn't Me, like, it just felt like a good song idea, you know, about a breakup song where like neither person wants to take blame for it. And it felt cool and creative and we wrote it. And like, I think it's got like a really nice bop to it.
Is it hard to write a breakup song like when you're in a relationship? I've always wondered, like, had you just like take yourself back to a place? Like, how do you do that?
It's not. It's really
No?
not. I mean, to be honest, like even when I was younger and I was writing these, like I would write these ridiculous love songs. I had never been in love.
True.
You know what I mean? So it's just the opposite of that.
It's fair. So we totally want to be respectful of your time and not keep you all night here, but I did want to circle back to Dream Street for a little bit, just how in 2020 you all reunited for the first time in like 20 years publicly for a beautiful performance in honor of Chris. We heard in your interview with Lance that this was something Chris's parents asked to be put together. Can you tell us about it and how it felt to come together for the first time like that to honor, your bandmate, your friend, your brother like that?
So I'll clarify. Chris's parents did not request anything. The only thing that actually was requested of me was that I host a digital or a virtual like funeral for him. And so that was something that I had put together and I hosted. And, this was in the height of COVID. So like nobody was meeting in person. I was very honored by that and I didn't take it lightly. And I really put a lot of time into making sure that it was going to be really special. And I had actually done that acoustic rendition of It Happens Every Time, I think at probably one of my like annual charity gigs, like that previous May. So I do that every May and he had passed away shortly after. And when I had done my acoustic version of it, I was getting a lot of requests from people to like record it. And so I was like, yeah, sure. Like, no problem. I'm going to get around to doing that. So I actually had intentions of doing an acoustic version of It Happens Every Time on my own. And then like we got hit with that news and all of a sudden that became like a priority of mine. And so I was doing that regardless of anybody, wanting it to be done. Music has always been like truly therapeutic for me. And anytime like anything really, tragic or significant is happening, like music's really been helpful for me to like pull me through stuff, even just for myself. Like I had to do that. And I just sent like a really basic text to the guys being like, hey guys, like, by the way, like I'm doing this, like welcome to join me. I hadn't even like talked to Jesse in like, I don't know how many years. I had zero expectations of anybody joining me on it. And like in a matter of seconds, like each guy was like, dude, tell me what you need, and I was like, oh, all right. And then, I was like, all right, just like record your part and send it to me. I mean, Matt literally recorded his part on his iPhone singing into like the same headphones that you guys are wearing right now. And everybody just sent me their parts. And I did have somebody who was professional like mix it. And then my buddy, the intern from my first band, who's my son's godfather, he did some like pretty guitar stuff on top and I played the main part. And it really just like came together like so organically. Frankie actually, he did the video to it. Like, so all the like really nice editing and all of that stuff was like all Frankie. And, I'm really proud of it. Like I remember listening to it for the first time and just like, like hysterically crying. And like, even as like the closing act for his virtual ceremony, it really was like, I have chills just like reminiscing on it right now.
It happens every time. Oh, it's magic when we meet down on Dream Street.
I'm really pleased with the way that it came out. And I do think it's just like super special. And, knowing Chris as well as I do, like, I can't imagine anything that he would have like loved more. And so that's kind of how that all transpired, really.
And how is your relationship with the rest of the guys now? Like it seems like you all are still pretty close. I see you guys taking like ski trips together. You and Matt seem to be together a lot. Like how has your relationship evolved and what is it like now?
Yeah, so it's really sad that it took like such a tragedy to kind of like shake us up and wake us up, but it really did just that, so like literally a minute after the virtual funeral, I get a FaceTime from Jesse and we had like a 20-minute phone call. It's just one of those things, like everybody's doing their thing and they're living their lives. And like, you just don't think that like, you're not going to have the opportunity to like talk to somebody again out of nowhere. Right. So it did. It really kind of like was like, oh shit, like I love you guys. You're my brothers. Like we've been through something together that nobody else can even like relate to. And so it definitely did kind of like, that's when our like Dream Street group chat began. Now we send each other memes all the time. And then honestly, so in terms of the trips, right, we are all like super typical dudes, right? And we're so lucky that we have 4 awesome wives that all get along and like each other. Like that in itself is like super special.
Huge.
Right. Yeah. And so we call them the Dream Wives. And they're the ones who they're like, let's plan a trip. We know the boys are going to be happy to do it. And like, they put in all the time and effort and work into like planning a trip. And they're like, all right, what are we doing next year? And like, Jesse's having a baby now in August. So, maybe it'll be like every other year, whatever it is. But, our first one that we did was in Montana, and my wife, Julie, was like 9 months pregnant. And it was like, should she even be flying sort of thing? And the doctor said it was okay. Like it wouldn't have been okay if it was like the following week sort of thing. And she's just like a super like rock star. She's like, I'm going, I'm not, it was like a ski trip. And like we rented an Airbnb. It was like a sweet house. She's like, a weekend without having to like take care of the kids and like just like sleep in, like sign me up. So that was like our first one, and it was awesome. They all ski and I don't. So there was that, but
You're there après.
I mean, I
You're like, I'll wait for you in
tried
the
my
lodge.
best, but I was like, you guys go ahead. I'm going to stay, like literally the trail that I stayed on was called Pacifier. And I'm like, I'm just going to stay here on Pacifier. Please, you guys go do your diamond stuff. But it was like, it was so great. And like, I just remember almost feeling guilty that I had felt like we were so out of touch when in reality, like it was one of those things where it's like you cannot talk to somebody for so long and then you're together again and it's like no time had passed, nothing changed. We all resort to being like 14 again when we're together. It's awesome. And then, as for like Matt and I, he's 20 minutes down the road from me. And we both have young kids who are similar in age. So it just works really well. Like he'll just, like when we rehearse, he just comes over with the whole family and like our wives, they do their thing and the kids do their thing. And then me and Matt come sneak up into my little cave over here and we do our thing. And like, it just like works really well.
That is the sweetest thing I've ever heard. And I want to be in the Dream Wives group. I think we should have the Dream Wives on the pod. I think it would be so
The Dream Wives
fun.
would be so much more entertaining than us,
Oh
for
my
sure.
gosh.
I would love to hear their perspective on everything. So, Greg, before we let you go, we have to ask, I'm sure you get this all the time. Any hopes of a reunion? Jesse in interviews has said never say never.
Yeah, never say never, right?
Oh, here we
Never
go.
say
I mean,
never.
it's the 25th anniversary of your debut album.
Look, I mean, you're
great
talking
timing.
to the guy who's like doing it with
Yeah.
Matt, right?
True.
So it ain't me.
Fair point. That is
Well,
fair.
We hope we see you guys at more shows. We love Pop 2000s. It's such an awesome concert series. We hope to see you guys at more shows coming
Yeah.
up because we'd love to catch a show.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I'm
Greg-
sure we'll be doing more stuff.
Great.
And, like I said, it's just really at this point just about having fun. It's like no strings
Good.
attached. Wink, wink. And I truly love performing. I love making music. And so any opportunity I get to do that, like sign me up, I'm there.
So that was our conversation with Greg of Dream Street. Mary and I cannot stop laughing because Greg told us that our faces were frozen during the
Angrily frozen.
during the entire conversation. And if you go on our Patreon, you can see the whole video, but like you'll see the clips that we're posting on social. We are emoting, like hardcore
we
emoting. We were joyful. We were ecstatic for this conversation. I'm dead that he cannot see.
He saw us. He was like, you were glaring. And I'm like, oh my God. We were smiling big the whole time.
No, like my cheeks hurt from smiling. It was
Because he's wonderful.
He's wonderful. He's such a good storyteller. He's so generous with his storytelling. Like, you know, you kind of just feel like you're catching up with an old friend, and it's someone that was in my CD player, like nonstop for 2 years. So it's just very surreal that we get to talk to these dreamboats.
I know. I definitely remember him from back.
Of course.
Like he was a Dream Street cutie.
I just
And-
love when someone admits how much they love attention.
Also, can we discuss Kelsey? His favorite song
I know.
is like no one gives Jennifer Goodbye credit. And
No, they don't. Except you, Mary. When he said it, you were emoting when he said that. I hope he saw the joyful expression
my
on your
face like
lit
exploded.
up. She lit up when he mentioned that. Also, I love that he's the AJ of the group.
He is.
Even though we know they're kind of like NSYNC fans as a group, I really appreciated that.
I get it. So
Yeah.
you guys support Greg, support the Dream Street Boys. If you're going to the BB Mac shows that they're doing in New York or Connecticut, cheer extra loud for them from us, please, because of course we stan.
We
Thank you,
stand
Greg.
so hard. And we stand Greg's wife. She's
the
a
Dream
freaking
Wives.
legend.
Oh,
She's a
that's-
legend. I want to have her on the podcast.
That story, like when I say it gives me goosebumps, like imagine like having him show up to your school and like not realize you went to the same school and thinking this pop star like found you.
No, that was me thinking Brian Littrell was going to
That's
walk
what we
into my
expected.
elementary school and be like, hello.
That's what we expected. I just, amazing.
And that's why they're called Dream Street, because they make dreams come true. And you can make our dream come true if you leave us 5 stars and a comment and subscribe. And better yet, why not check out our Patreon while you're at it?
It's
We-
amazing.
We have so much fun content on there that's only for our Patreon subscribers. And we have some amazing concerts coming up, and we'll be posting exclusive clips there only.
Thanks for listening.
Love you guys.
Bye.